Like the laser sight. I think you can really have some fun. Last week we showed you the advanced Taser M-series weapon at CES. This is an amazing device used by law enforcement for control of violent suspects, people who just won't stand still. It's non-lethal. It's not dangerous to the suspect, but it's pretty darn effective. I know Marty and I talked about it on the show also because the new development from the Taser folks is they're going to offer these also to individuals. We've got the CEO from Taser International, Rick Smith, here to join us to talk about the new Tasers. Rick, it's great to have you. Welcome.
Thanks. Good to be here.
This got a lot of news attention when you announced this last week. What was the announcement that Taser made?
Well, the big announcement was United Airlines is putting these in all their cockpits as part of their in-flight security.
The pilots will have these.
The pilots will have 2 in each cockpit.
And there is also a non-police version of this now available. It's not in every state. It's not legal in every state, right?
It's legal in 43 states, and there's no permits required in those states.
Okay. Pretty amazing stuff. Before we go any further, though, I really want to emphasize this is not a toy. This is a non-lethal weapon. It's used by law enforcement. It's not a gun. We are going to show you some demos of how this thing works, but they were performed in a controlled environment. We took a lot of precautions. Rick knows exactly what he's doing. We guarantee the safety of all the participants by taking those precautions. This is not something you want to play with at home. This thing hurts like the dickens, okay? Let's talk about what this does. There's two ways to use it. Patrick was using it at close range.
Right, in the stun gun mode.
Can I do that now and just flip off the safety?
No, flip it back up to arm it.
All right.
And squeeze the trigger.
And then squeeze the trigger. And you can see there's a little laser sight there. And then when I squeeze the trigger, there's a little charge that comes off. It looked a little like a little arcing.
Yep. 50,000 volts.
How many volts?
50,000 volts.
Okay. How many watts are coming out of it?
18 watts on this particular
18 watts.
weapon.
Now, it's very low amperage, so it's not harmful, right?
Right. Won't affect the heart, won't affect the pacemaker, but it causes your body to lock up. It's like take a computer network. Imagine putting that spike of electricity into it.
Right.
It's going to send everything haywire. We do the same thing inside the human body, so the brain can't tell the arms, legs, and muscles what to do. And if you can't move, you can't attack anyone.
Yeah. So it interrupts muscle activity.
Right. It's called a neuromuscular disruptor.
A neuromuscular disruptor. And we, before we let Yoshi do this, by the way, Yoshi looked, I know, at a lot of websites. We looked at a lot of websites to make sure, and all the research says there is absolutely no evidence that there's any permanent damage or harm at all from this thing.
That's right. We've hit over 5,000 law enforcement volunteers, and they've hit over 1,200 bad guys in the field with it.
This is
no
Hans.
Adverse effect.
Hans is pretty tough. He's getting tased right now.
Yeah, he's the former chief instructor of hand-to-hand combat for the Marine Corps. So that tells you this is the type of guy you don't want to meet in a dark alley. And there's nothing else out there that would stop him. In fact, when we met him a couple of years ago, he was sort of famous for wrecking demonstrations in non-lethal weapons, because this guy, you can't put him down. I mean, he took a grenade in combat and kept going. He hit from the grenade. So when we dropped him with this weapon, we knew we had the right recipe.
That's pretty amazing. You were doing this on the show floor at CES. You were taking volunteers, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well,
that's nuts. I don't know who would do this, but all right.
Well, basically what we did is we had a raffle every day where we would offer to give a weapon away, and in order to qualify, you had to take a short 1-second hit like we did with Yoshi. One of the biggest things we run into is people are just naturally terrified of electricity, and they're afraid, is it going to electrocute me? Is it going to stop my heart? Right. It's perfectly safe, but it's also important to feel if you're ever going to use this in the field, in a lot of cases it's good to know what it's going to do. And by giving them a short sample,
they got an idea.
Yeah, you can see how effective it is.
It's kind of sad to see all these grown men cry, I got to tell you. This has 2 methods, though. We showed the close-up method. Show me the long-range method. You can also do it with a 15-foot range, right?
Right. Basically, there you just snap cartridge in place.
Okay. And we got a target on the wall here.
Basically, at this point, use the safety and the trigger exactly like you did before. Only now.
Whoa! Hi-yo!
You can project force up to 15 feet.
So what's going on here is we've got these little projectiles. By the way, these are all encoded with a serial number, unique serial number.
Yeah.
So law enforcement, if you went around using these, law enforcement would immediately know to trace it back.
Yeah, you're leaving a calling card behind, so only use it when it's legitimate. And, if you use it to rob a liquor store,
they're going to know.
They're going to know.
These little projectiles have a little straightened fish hook in them, right?
Yeah.
And that attaches. It doesn't have to get into their skin to do it, though, right? I mean, it could attach to clothing.
As long as it catches in the clothing, the electricity can jump up to 2.5 inches to get into the skin. So I don't know if you want to get a close up.
Yeah,
There's
maybe
the
you can
tip.
see that.
Now, if you're not wearing a shirt,
that's going to hurt a little bit.
we had a video that's pretty comical of a guy on PCP in L.A. running around naked with his pants around his ankles.
Yeah.
And when the police shot him with it, obviously it went into the skin.
Right.
But it leaves no more effect than a cactus needle when you pull it out. But it doesn't have to penetrate. As long as it's within 2.5 inches, you'll get this same electric arc that'll jump from the tip of the dart through your clothing and into the body.
These wires are what are transmitting it, right?
Yeah, they're insulated to 50,000 volts, and the wires, it's like mini jumper cables.
Right.
We launch it out, we make the
nice
attachment,
right.
And, well, it's descriptive. And,
What's to stop a perpetrator from breaking those wires off?
The 50,000 volts that's going through his body.
Well, just in case you had any doubts about this, Yoshi said he'd take one for the show. And should we take a look at this? Now, I want to say that we didn't do this live on the show because we weren't sure if there would be profanity involved. So we decided to do this before the show. We taped it before the show. Don't worry, Yoshi's alive and well. He survived. But let's take a look at there. You're okay, right?
A-okay.
All right. Let's take a look at Yoshi getting tased. A brave, brave man.
Okay.
Oh,
Ready?
Yoshi. Ow! He's laughing. He's laughing. He's twitching is what he's
Describe
doing.
it.
What would be the best way to describe it?
More.
No, it just felt like I couldn't move my legs. I don't know,
still
it felt like
shaking
someone
a
was
little bit.
stepping on my foot. And I just couldn't stand up. I tried to stand up.
Yeah. And you got about a half a second. Normally,
The giggling is not normal.
no, I think you should consider a counselor. I've seen thousands of people hit with this, and never has
Never a
anybody
giggle.
giggled when it's over.
But Rick, you were nice to him. You just gave him a very brief burst, right? Normally, you would continue to pull that trigger for a few seconds until the person stopped.
Oh, absolutely. When you hit the trigger, normally it runs for 5 seconds. I shut it off by flipping the safety down.
You did a very quick hit.
Yeah. And you could, after the 6 seconds, if he moves, if he looks at you the wrong way, you can trigger it again, keep him down. We had a case in Yuma County where the sheriff's had a guy immobilized for half an hour.
Wow. I can see how law enforcement would love this, and I guess there would be some application on the streets, but we again want to emphasize, folks, this is not a toy. This is serious stuff, and it is legal in 43 states, but you know, I would recommend if you're going to get something like this, you get some training, you learn how to use it, you don't play around with this. This is
Absolutely. Most of our dealers have law enforcement officers that'll come in and do training, so you know how to use it safely.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, I really appreciate it. Rick Smith, CEO of Taser International. Yoshi, you're a better man than I am. Well done. Thank you very much. We want to stress the Taser is not a toy. It's a non-lethal weapon used by law enforcement. Those demos we showed you were performed, again, in a controlled environment. We took some real precautions. You saw I was actually holding Yoshi to protect him. Don't try it at home. It's nothing funny about it. For details on the advanced Taser M series, go to the, well, it's kind of funny, but that's Yoshi. Go to the screensavers.com.